Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Faithful Dogs podcast. I am Tyler Johnson. I am joined by Jack Robinson, Zach DeFranco. Gentlemen, how are we doing on this Wednesday evening?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I'm ready to get more in depth with this Elijah Moore trade. We got a really good guest coming on here to talk about it. Someone who knows Elijah Moore, like play style, way more than we do. So very pumped to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. I can't wait to get into our guest today, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show, big show planned. Guys, before we get into tonight's guest, just remember to drop a like on this video, help that YouTube algorithm grow. You really help Network 216 grow as well once you do that. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new to Network 216. If you go in and do that and follow the instructions that we've listed on our subscriber-only giveaway video, you'll be entered in to win an homage hoodie of either Cleveland Cavaliers, Cleveland Guardians, or Cleveland Browns. So make sure you guys go in and do that. Before we get to our wonderful guest tonight, we are going to just take 1 second here from our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy.
What's up, everybody? We know that daily fantasy never stops, and Network 216 is proud to be a partner with Underdog Fantasy. Very simple to use. All you have to do is go to underdogfantasy.com and you will just click the sign in button. You'll create an account if you haven't done so already. If you've not created an account, it'll ask you to enter code 216, and they will double your first deposit up to $100. Underdog Fantasy, live draft lobbies that you get to compete with you and your friends. It's no salary cap like DraftKings and FanDuel. You get to go to a draft lobby, pick the players you want, or you can do daily pick'ems, which give you access to all the NFL and NBA games for you to make your picks every single night. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com or use the Underdog Fantasy app on iOS or Android. Use code 216 to double your first deposit up to $100. Sign up today.
And tonight we are joined by, he is host of the Jet Report on YouTube and also host of the Just Jets podcast, Matt O'Leary. Matt, how are you doing tonight?
Good, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. Excited to talk some Elijah Moore with you guys.
Yeah, again, we really appreciate your time. And this trade, at least for Browns fans, it kind of came out of nowhere. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with kind of how it was with the Browns. So the day before this trade comes out, it was reported the Browns are being heavily linked to Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Like a ton of smoke was out on this. And so Browns fans were like, close. We thought we were going to get Jerry Jeudy. And then all of a sudden we saw our Cleveland.com reporter, Mary Kay Cabot, report once again something about Elijah Moore. And then not you guys signed McCole Hardman, or we thought we signed McCole Hardman. It was kind of weird how that worked out. And then all of a sudden the Browns traded for Elijah Moore. So from a Jets perspective, how are you feeling when you saw this trade happen?
Honestly, I was surprised because when the Jets signed McCole Hardman, I like him a lot. I think he's a solid receiver, but he's more of a Braxton Berrios replacement more than he is an Elijah Moore replacement. So the Jets now have a need for a starting caliber receiver, but it was a surprise in one way, but at the same time he did request a trade earlier in the season. We thought they hashed things out. They decided to move on from Mike LaFleur, the offensive coordinator, who he was obviously beefing with at the time. So he thought, like, all right, new OC, new quarterback, maybe get an opportunity to see what he can do. And then just less than an hour after they signed Hardman, he's out the door in a trade. So that did come as a little bit of a surprise to us.
Yeah, and to be honest, I thought that Elijah Moore was going to be a package in the Aaron Rodgers deal. So I didn't think, he was going to be available for Cleveland per se, but I definitely thought, you guys signing Hardman was going to, open up the door for him being part of that Aaron Rodgers deal. Did that cross your mind at all either?
There were reports early on that potentially he could be in the deal. I didn't know how much I really bought into that. For whatever reason, they being the Packers, dating back to last year, have expressed interest in Corey Davis. They tried to trade for him at the deadline this past offseason. So I think if any receiver's going to be included in the deal, I think it would be, a veteran and someone like Corey. But yeah, I understand why, people think that more, a talented young player could potentially be in a deal like that, but there wasn't really that much smoke with the Packers and Elijah Moore.
And what has kind of been the reaction around the Jets fan base with Elijah Moore getting dealt in kind of an unceremonious way, especially considering, I mean, you guys got Alan Lazard, you got McCole Hardman, and you are going into the second year with Garrett Wilson, so you have, obviously a lot of talent, and you're expecting to get Aaron Rodgers sometime this offseason, so you would probably want to give him more weapons. So what was the reaction around, the Jets fan base to Elijah Moore leaving kind of out of nowhere?
Honestly, it was pretty mixed. You had people who just never got over him requesting a trade in season. And, from an optics perspective, I get it. He handled it really, really bad. The Jets were in a winning streak at the time. I believe it was after the Denver game, and they improved to 4-2. They were winning games, a bunch of games in a row at that time and playing their best football. And it's like, well, I'm not happy because I'm not getting the ball. And that was a little bit frustrating from him. Again, I don't think he handled it very well. But at the same time, like, me personally, and there was also some other Jet fans who were saying like, all right, yeah, that was bad, but you moved on from the offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, who had some beef with. So let's see. This guy obviously is a talented receiver. He went at the top of the second round, and the Jets made it very well known when they took him in that draft that they had a first round grade on him. They thought about moving back up into the first round to grab him, but instead he fell to them at 34, I believe. So yeah, it was a little surprising to see them give up on him so quickly, but it was a very mixed reaction from the fan base. You had some who were like, all right, good, malcontent, get him out of here. And others like, I think there's something there and would have liked to see him get a shot with Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt, this whole situation with Elijah Moore and the Jets, his rookie year, I mean, he really came out strong at the end of the year, really finished that strong. If it wasn't for an injury, who knows what his ending stats would have been. But going into this year, there were a lot of expectations for Elijah Moore, and unfortunately, it didn't work out with the Jets. What happened in New York with Elijah Moore and with the Jets, and why they had to move on?
Yeah, so I had high expectations, as all Jet fans had high expectations going into this year. I'm glad you brought up how he ended 2021. He looked great. He was getting in his stride and working well with both Mike White and Zach Wilson when he returned from injury last year. But this year, it was a mix of a couple of things. Number one, they were trying to play him more on the outside as an outside receiver than in the slot. He's much better suited in the slot. So I think for his best chance of success in Cleveland, I think it would be in their best interest to play him inside, especially at his size. And then they kept having him, go in these long developing routes down the field. And that's really also not his strong suit either. He's a yak guy. So you got to get the ball in his hands quickly, crossing route stuff over the middle, get him in space and get him going. But the Jets were kind of dead set on Garrett Wilson in the slot early on last year with Moore and Davis on the outside. And then they began to mix it up a little bit more. But at that point, he was kind of already in the doghouse after requesting the trade. And just the quarterback play in general wasn't good enough. Now, Elijah wasn't a perfect soldier in all of this. There were times where it looked like he got lazy and gave up on some routes. I'm sure it was, a mix of frustration, but honestly could have just been a situation where it's like, this is a player who could probably benefit from a change of scenery, just based on, what we saw from him last year, unfortunately.
And to go along with that, what type of player, because this is what Browns fans really want to know, because there's been that debate of he's just a slot, he's just an outside guy. I mean, the stats show that he can play both, even though, like you said, he is more effective in the slot. But what kind of player are the Browns getting in Elijah Moore? What is he going to bring to that offense to pair with Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, he's a really explosive player, very explosive player, really good route runner. He's not really someone you're going to send like down the field and having big plays down the field, but he's someone who could take a slant and just turn upfield and go with that kind of speed. That's how good and how talented he is. Route running is something that he's really strong with. So if he loses his corner, get him the ball quickly and then have him do things with the ball in his hands. The Jets used him a little bit on jet sweep, so if you want to do that as well, I think again it is a good guy to get the ball in his hands and have him make people miss. He's not a contested catch guy. He's not going to be you're not going to have him run go routes and just throw the ball 60 yards down the field. That's not him. But he's very effective over the middle of the field. He can play. You mentioned it. He can play both. I just think he's better suited inside.
Yeah, and on top of that, he's also one of I've been seeing a lot of people really giving him commendations for his route running, and obviously he's coming into a room now with Amari Cooper, who is also considered one of the best route runners. How do you see him really, taking advantage of the fact that he's not going to be able to be covered by the best corner on the other team, and he's going to be really able to get that route running to basically maximize that talent of his?
Yeah, I think it's a good situation for him. I don't know if he's ever going to be like that true number one. And for Cleveland, they don't really need that. I mean, Amari has been great ever since, going to Cleveland. He's a bona fide, stud receiver, but he's a really good complementary wide receiver too, or, maybe on a, amazing team, a wide receiver 3. But I think he's a guy who, if things break right, he should be giving you the 700-800 plus receiving yards a year, maybe flirts with 1,000-yard receiving. That's the kind of expectation Jets fans had for him this past year. Obviously, it didn't work out that way, but he's an immense talent. Again, I don't know if he's ever going to be a true number one, but he's definitely a useful wide receiver to have in your room.
I actually have a question about, like, as Jets fans, how did you guys feel about the compensation of pick 42 back for him? Did you think that was fair?
I thought the Browns definitely got the better of the deal because essentially it was a pick swap. So
yeah,
the Jets gave him the third. I believe the difference would have been something like an early third. And obviously the Jets took him at the top of the second, and they viewed him as a first round guy. So at that price, my personal preference would have been hang on to him and see if you can get the guy you thought you were drafting just 2 years ago. I think Cleveland got the better end of the deal. I understand why the Jets did it. I'm assuming they're giving up a second round pick to try to get Rodgers. That's been the story all this week. A second this year, a second next year that could turn into a 1 and all that stuff. But the Jets, they really desperately need an offensive tackle and a center. So if they're trying to attack that through the draft, you're going to need a second round pick to probably land someone who you feel comfortable starting from day one at center. So I get why they made the move, but I think value-wise, I think Cleveland made out pretty good here.
And Matt, the last thing we wanted to talk to you about before we let you go, we had to bring it up because it is still arguably one of the biggest talking points in all of sports right now, and it's Aaron Rodgers. How do Jets fans feel about this situation and just how it seems like at some point it will get done, but right now it just feels like it's a never-ending situation?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Pretty much ever since they first went out there, that it was leaked that they went out there to visit with him, and then when he went on to the McAfee show, that stretch was the worst of it. The deal is coming, and fans really aren't like, oh my God, like they're going to back out of it. It's going to blow up in our face. That's not really it. It's just the anxiety of like, okay, when is this actually going to go through? It's a waiting game right now. It's annoying. I think it gets done before the draft. We just have to hold out a little bit with some patience, but I think Jet fans are rightfully excited. You're getting a, Hall of Fame level quarterback, opening up, a window of hopefully a 2-year run and see if you make it work.
Well, Matt, we really do appreciate your time. Great breakdown on Elijah Moore, which we really appreciate. Guys, be sure to follow Matt on Twitter at Matt O'Leary NY on Twitter. We put his YouTube channel in the description as well, so drop Matt a sub if you would, and tune into the Just Jets podcast. Matt, thank you so much for your time, and the Browns play the Jets this year, so we'll look forward to speaking with you here again.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you,
thanks, Matt. Dude, that was fun. We got a lot of good information on Elijah Moore. I mean,
so here's the thing, Tyler. Here's the thing about me now, man, because me and you both have said, like, Elijah Moore is not just a slot receiver. He's saying if the Browns are smart, play this dude in the slot. So that kind of changed my mind a little bit. I'm coming out here with a different perspective on Elijah Moore next year.
Well, I think it just gives us more flexibility.
Real quick, guys, I've been ignoring this.
Yeah.
So Josh, we weren't ignoring you, man. I just want to let you know. Thank you very much for that
Yes.
donation.
Seriously,
to the channel.
Josh, that means a lot,
dude,
bro.
Josh, you've been with us seriously since day one. So just thank you, man. Thank you so much for doing that. It really means a lot. It means a lot to everyone at Network 216 as well. So thank you for being one of our biggest fans. Just had to shout you out because we didn't forget about you. I made sure to star it. I didn't want to forget. But sorry, Jack, what do you want to say about Elijah Moore?
Oh, I was just saying that, the fact that he is so good in the slot, but that he has so much expertise still on the outside, he can play that position. It just gives Kevin Stefanski, it gives the offense flexibility. You can move him outside if you want to and really kind of change up the scheming. So, I mean, yeah, obviously it's great that you have a guy that is so developed in the slot, but just the fact that he has the ability to go outside just gives you, it's really just the icing on top of the cake for him.
Yeah,
See, here's where
No, sorry, Tyler. Go ahead, man.
Sorry, dude. This is where I'm at with this, and his whole situation on where he's going to line up is truly interesting because if you look at guys where he succeeded the most in 2021, like his rookie year, he was majority on the outside. I mean, he did play in the slot, so I'm not here to say that he didn't. But that's where the majority of his success was. They moved him into the slot after he had that big blowout with Matt LaFleur, the offensive coordinator. They moved him in the slot and basically made him inactive and didn't get him the ball. Like his snaps outside were 347 in 2021, 125 in 2021. That's when he had his, statistically so far, his best year, and he broke out the end of that rookie year. Last year, 385 outside, 341 in the slot. So it's going to be a debate all offseason. It really is.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, if you're looking at it from a Browns perspective, you have two wide receivers now in Cooper and Moore that can benefit both in the slot and out wide. I just think it was one of those moves where I don't think it matters where you line them up. Stefanski and Watson don't care where you line them up. It's just versatility, like Jack said, weapons all across the board. Dude, I love it, man. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Elijah Moore cares where you line him up in Cleveland. I just think he just had a fallout in New York. It was time for a change of scenery, like Matt said earlier too. I don't think he gives a crap if you line him up in the slot or out wide either. He just wants to win and get targets. So
Exactly, man. I think that's such a misconception, and he wants a good quarterback.
Mhm.
Like, I think we really need to just take a second. This dude had Zach Wilson throwing him the football. Oh,
well, or not throwing him the football. However you want to look at it.
That's actually the better way to look at it. But again, I mean, the guy's got talent, and Jets fans and even Matt had said, dude, I mean, some of them were upset to lose this guy.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why. You're not. If you wanted a guy gone, you would have been like, he's gone. So what? There were Jets fans that were upset with this deal.
And that's why I wanted to ask him about the compensation of the pick 42. Was that enough in the Jets fans' eyes? And he was basically like, we lost the trade. As a Browns fan, yeah, you love to hear that. But I mean, we've been there before as Browns fans, where we're like, oh, we lost that trade. So
yeah. And I mean, it especially sucks because obviously I think a lot of Jets fans in 2021 saw the potential of what he could be in a system where, you utilize his talents. And then obviously you have this huge regression of Zach Wilson and the injuries just completely demolishing their QB room. Obviously they end up losing a couple of key guys to injury. They lose guys like Breece Hall, but then he just gets put in the doghouse. And I mean, basically his whole season was lost. And that's why he ended up requesting a trade. And I mean, in that situation, I can see why some Jets fans would be like, oh, well, he doesn't want to be here, so why would we want him? But I mean, when you have a guy that's on his second year, you basically the second pick in the second round of a draft it's almost a first round pick, and they gave him a first round evaluation. So having a guy like that the organization really believed in, and that everyone saw at least a slight, like just a peek at his potential, and then having him be gone like two years after, I mean, that's obviously not something that I think a lot of people would like to see, especially considering that, again, he has such a great skill set that they just weren't correctly utilizing. And now that if they eventually get Aaron Rodgers, they probably think that they would have gotten more out of him.
Yeah, and guys, we got a lot of you in the chat. So first off, thank you. If you got any questions, comments, feel free to send them, and we'll get to as many as we can throughout the show. I mean, again, I'm so pumped about this. I really am. I think you're getting a guy that, like I said, one, he's pissed off about the situation he was in. He's going to be incredibly motivated to succeed in Cleveland. And I think you're going to have a quarterback that's going to fall in love with the way this guy plays. And
Can I just change the subject real quick? What is this Baker Mayfield Ravens story? Like, what is this?
They wanted to sign him, man.
apparently they wanted to sign him, and Baker said no. I don't know. I don't know. It's being reported by Mike Florio, but it's still funny if it's true.
All right, sorry about that. That's why I kind of like,
dude, it's all good. It's weird.
Let's talk about the Browns. Let's talk about the Browns.
But I mean, again, Elijah Moore is okay. I want to bring this question to you guys, Zach. We kind of talked about it a little bit on Sunday when we were going over the wide receiver room. But Jack, I want kind of your opinion on this too. Amari Cooper's wide receiver 1, there's no doubt. Then you have Donovan Peoples-Jones, and then you have Elijah Moore. See, I caused quite a conversation on Twitter by saying who's wide receiver 1, who's wide receiver 2, Elijah Moore, Donovan Peoples-Jones. A ton of people said DPJ, which is fair. I really think it's going to be Elijah Moore for just being that security blanket for Deshaun Watson, a guy that consistently can create when he sees his quarterback is on the run. Because even though Zach Wilson wasn't good, he did throw a lot on the run and outside the pocket. So that's the way I look at it. I think Elijah Moore brings the explosiveness that he brings to this offense. He's going to quickly become one of Deshaun Watson's favorite targets. What are your thoughts?
You know, I actually that is a really good question, because I think obviously after last year, a lot of people are going to look at DPJ as a wide receiver too, just because of how big of a leap he kind of made. I mean, the way that he improved his pass catching, his route running. He was a really, really good receiver, and I think everyone could say that he is a solidified wide receiver too. But when you have a guy like Moore and you bring him into a position of need in the slot, and you give him, all that room now where you have DPJ and Amari Cooper, they're going to be able to take a lot of guys out of the equation for him in terms of where he can go. You have David Njoku, you have all these options, and it makes it super hard for defenses. And again, like you were saying, he's a yak guy. So if you get Deshaun out of the pocket and you get him moving, he's going to be able to find Elijah Moore much better than probably a lot of these other guys, because I think it's pretty well known that that Deshaun really likes to go towards the outside. So if you have, if you're scrambling at who's the guy who's probably going to be streaking over the middle, it's probably going to be Elijah Moore. So Elijah Moore is going to be a guy I think he's going to look to a lot when he gets into those scrambling situations. And just if he can get open, his route running is elite. So obviously Amari's probably going to be his first option, but if he's not open, Elijah's 100% going to be one of those guys that he's going to be like, oh, Amari's not open. Where's Elijah? Get it to him. And I mean, Deshaun's going to probably find the open guy anyways. That's why you get a quarterback of his caliber. You want him to basically be like, I'm going to just get it to the best guy possible. But I think Elijah Moore is going to be one of those guys that's going to probably be in the best position the most often, just because of his skill set, because of the guys on this team, because of what all this whole offense really brings to the table, and how it really does kind of give him the best chance possible to be like a consistent target, kind of the security blanket like you were talking about.
Well, let's put this into perspective real quick. Amari Cooper last year, so with basically Jacoby, had 126 targets. Donovan Peoples-Jones had 95. Elijah Moore had 59 targets in New York last year. You're looking at a massive, massive upgrade in targets alone for Elijah Moore. So, dude, I could see him instantly coming out off the bat with, if things click well, like we expect it to. You could see him being like Matt said, like an 800-yard receiver for us right off the bat. There's going to be targets to go around next year in the Browns offense. It's going to be a completely new offense. So there's going to be enough targets to go around.
Yeah, and I think this was a really good comment that Michael made. Great versatility. Amari Cooper can play in the slot too. Really opens up the playbook, allows more misdirection. There, you have 3 guys now on offense with Donovan Peoples-Jones, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, that you can move all around. DPJ is even a guy that they could even line up in this, even though that's not ideal. You could line him up in the slot from time to time. He's your best run blocking wide receiver. So if you line him up in the slot and run out of shotgun, that's a great option. Elijah Moore, you're going to move inside, outside. Same with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper's played nearly 200 snaps in the slot every year. So again, there's just a lot of flexibility here. And Jack, another question that we talked about on Sunday, Zach, this is what the Browns are going to have to really decide, and DPJ is going to have to decide here. So you bring in Elijah Moore. You bring in a guy who's probably going to get 80 to 100 targets. This is an estimate. Could be off, could be more, could be less. No pun intended. But anyway, Donovan Peoples-Jones is a free agent after next year. We all know that. If you're Donovan Peoples-Jones and you know your targets are going to go down, are you willing to still, let's say the Browns offer you a contract and it's $7 to $9 million. That's about, I believe, what we said. Would you and let's say it's a 2 or 3 year deal. Would you take that contract, or would you bet on yourself, and would you try and cash it in free agency next year and try and make 10 million or more? Keep in mind, though, the season you just had in 2022 might be the highest season you end up producing while you're with the Browns, given the acquisition of Elijah Moore, David Njoku obviously being there, and Jordan Akins coming in from Houston.
Yeah, I think it would actually be in his best interest to try to get a contract extension done sooner rather than later. Obviously, I think that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski see his potential. They know how good he is as a receiver, and he's developed and really just honed his skill set so well over the last 4 years now, 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just been fantastic every single year that he's been here. And I think that if he does go into this season without a contract and he performs the way we think, which is obviously he's going to take a little bit of a step back just because of the way that this offense is going to function. There's going to be more talent at the receiver position, so he's going to have more competition. I think that he will find himself in a situation where he might be, going into a wide receiver market with just slightly less in value. And I'm not 100% caught up on what the wide receiver market is going to look like next year either. Like, I don't know who the free agents are. I don't know, like what kind of competition he'll find in that particular regard. But I just know that I think that he would hurt his value in the free market going into this season without a deal and expecting to get his value coming into next season's free agency period. I think that he should get it done now. He should get some money, get some security, because I don't know if he's going to get as good of a deal next year as he would this year, just because of the fact that I think Elijah Moore and David Njoku and Amari Cooper and who knows what and Marquise Goodwin, all these guys are going to be there taking some of his reps, and this is his best season, so he should try to capitalize on it.
To give you guys an idea, because you did bring this subject, you're not sure what free agents are going to be out there in 2024. As of right now, here's just some. This is obviously going to completely change because contract extensions, so on and so forth. So this list is actually pretty impressive, I'll be honest. Mike Evans, Tyler Boyd, DJ Chark. Let's see who else we got in here. Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr. I mean, there's going to be some talent available next year. Those are just some of the names that popped up right away. Gabriel Davis will be a free agent if you're looking for another guy that can stretch the field. Obviously, DPJ will be in that class, but KJ Osborne, Darnell Mooney. I mean, this is a free agent class next year that, and again, it's going to change. There's some talent. There is some talent available in free agency next year. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I would just keep a couple things in mind. The Browns, and I'm not saying I do this, but I'm saying these are scenarios that they will play out in their mind. The Browns save $20 million if they move on from Amari Cooper after next year. $20 million in cap space, given that they are like, there's always going to be ways for them to open up cap, so on and so forth. There's going to be a ton of talent available. That includes T. Higgins. That includes Michael Pittman Jr. So if you think you can go out and get one of those young receivers and essentially go get T. Higgins for $20 million, and like replace Amari Cooper, go get T. Higgins for $20 million, I don't know. Again, that's a whole other conversation that we can have at some point. But these are the things the Browns have to think about moving forward, because next year's class, and again, I don't think the Bengals are going to be able to keep a hold of T. Higgins. Obviously, I really don't. But there's going to be some talent available. And if it were me and if I think I can go get one of those younger guys to then pair with Deshaun Watson for the next 5 or 6 years, it'd be highly tempting to do that. That's all I'm saying.
I just want to say, we got some more people coming in here on YouTube. Please drop a like if you're not subbed yet. Sub to the channel.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for joining us.
It's free. It costs $0.
Yeah, this is true. And also, while you're mentioning that, Zach, we have a good amount of people that are watching us on Twitter and on Facebook. So, guys, please come over to the YouTube channel. We can see your comments. If you come over to YouTube, we want to be able to see your comments, answer any questions you guys have. So please join us on YouTube. It's easy. The link is going to be right there for you. So just click that. It'll take you right over to the YouTube channel. But I mean, again, I'm not saying I move on from Amari, but when these guys start to get older, these are questions that Andrew Berry has to ask himself. So I'm curious, man. It's now that we're a win now organization, it's fun.
Well, I am really curious about like what the discussion is in Andrew Berry's office and in Kevin Stefanski's office about how they want to handle the wide receiver room, because obviously they have Elijah Moore. I'm sure they plan to extend him at some point after the season, if he does have a season that they think they can build off of, and that, you know, proves that he can be a long-term asset for them. Then he's definitely going to be a guy that they want to extend. And then, you know, do they want to move off Amari Cooper like right away next season? Do they maybe want to keep him depending on, you know, how this season turns out? I mean, there's so many things that they probably have contingencies for everything. They have like sort of a rough outline of different outs and different strategies for each individual player and with each individual circumstance. And I would just be really curious to see just how they value guys like DPJ, how they value guys like Amari Cooper long term, or if they think that they are just kind of replaceable parts to the machine that they're trying to build.
Man, we're getting some good comments here. This is a great discussion. So, yeah, guys, keep the comments coming. Questions, please do. Michael also adds, David Bell, I think, is your replacement for DPJ if he walks. Gives you the same kind of game that he does. I need to see more from David Bell, but I don't disagree with that. I just need to see more from him personally. That's kind of where I'm at. Another comment here, and I'm not going to try and pronounce your name because I'll botch it, and I don't want to embarrass myself. I think you move on from DPJ and not Cooper, rework a contract, and get a younger wide receiver to pair with Watson. See, the only thing with that, like you mentioned, Jack, if Elijah Moore plays how they envision him, and how we believe he'll play, he's going to get extended. Bottom line. That's why you brought him in. Yeah. Like, if they clearly believe in him. So you have to ask yourself then, if DPJ doesn't extend, I think, honestly, they would just move on. And then some fans would be unhappy about it, but it's how it goes sometimes. Amari Cooper's the biggest question mark, guys, because going into 2024, well, after next year, he's going to be 30 years old. Do you guys really look to extend a 30-year? This is what we have to ask. Do you look to extend a 30-year-old Amari Cooper, given him probably he's going to, if he has the kind of year that he had this past year, he's going to want $20 million again or more. So are you guys comfortable giving him that contract, or do you look at the market? And that market, if you can go get a younger guy for about the same price, this is where the debate is.
Well, yeah. I think obviously this is all speculation. We're all looking at this we're a year out from these discussions, like realistically. But obviously, if a guy like T. Higgins does not make a deal with the Bengals or end up getting traded at some point, and he becomes available in the free market, I think that obviously someone like Amari Cooper becomes easily replaceable, and they see T. Higgins as a direct upgrade long term, and probably way worth the $20 million. Now, obviously, that's to be seen if that's actually going to come to market. And obviously, these guys like Michael Pittman that you're bringing up, how many of these guys are still going to be available or are not going to be extended or are going to hit the free agent market like we expect? All those are to be decided. And obviously, once we find that out, then we can probably have more in-depth discussion. But yeah, I think if a guy like T. Higgins makes it to the market, the Browns are definitely going to be going all in to get a guy like that. And that's going to mean that Amari Cooper leaves. But I think that everybody would understand like the logistics behind that and completely get behind it. I mean, I would get behind it. I'm sure everyone here would get behind it. I mean, bringing in a guy like T. Higgins and replacing Amari, I mean, that would be like a perfect long-term strategy for Andrew Berry.
Yeah. I mean, that's because, again, you would already have Elijah Moore in this situation extended. You would bring in T. Higgins. You would still have David Bell. I still assume they're going to draft somebody. I really do. So then, like, you got it. At some point, what you have to find is your future number one wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a slight to Elijah Moore. We don't know if he is that guy. We know that he's probably a strong number two. I think that's really what now, if he goes out, balls out, then great. We got our number one guy, and maybe this discussion is completely different. But until you have that guy, you got to get that guy. And I think we can all agree T. Higgins right now is in Jamar Chase's shadow. He's a number one wide receiver in this league, and there are a lot of teams that would love to have him. If he gets to the market, I do believe the Browns would go all out to get him. I also believe it would ensue in an insane bidding war, but I do believe he would be at the top of the list, as he should be.
I don't see how he doesn't. I don't see how he doesn't make it to the market. Dude, the Bengals are gonna. They're
not gonna tag him, right?
I think that would piss him off. I think that would piss him off.
It would, but then like the other thing to that is, I mean, if you do that, they're still trying to extend Joe Burrow.
Yeah,
so
and
how
then,
in the
and
world?
then you gotta look at Jamar too, right after that. So it's they're gonna keep Chase and Burrow together. That's
absolutely
gonna happen. So
I mean, T. Higgins is just he's a guy who he makes it to the market. There's going to be so many teams that want to bring that guy in. That guy has too much speed, skill, hands, height.
He's going to change the wide receiver market.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Michael adds another comment. Elijah Moore could be your future number one, as well as paying DPJ and picking up Tyler Boyd. Okay. That is interesting. Now that I am interested in. Wow, that's this is fun.
I think
I
that
was not
Andrew
expecting
Berry,
to get into this future discussion like this.
Yeah,
This is
but
fun.
Andrew Berry, like I totally forgot his name right now. But the GM for the Vikings, he talked about how Andrew Berry, like
Quessy.
Yeah, Quessy. He plans. He says how Andrew Berry plans for like the 2027 draft. Like Andrew Berry's always literally 10 steps, maybe 10 years ahead of other GMs. Like. So he could have very well been thinking about this with this Elijah Moore trade. Like, yeah, we keep the window open for Amari Cooper to be here for 2 more years just in case. But look at this market like next year. Like he's always planning for the next. What's the biggest need for our team due to what the market looks like. So
exactly.
Genius.
I mean, I think if Elijah Moore comes out this year and he balls out. And he kind of like almost takes the number one wide receiver position like from Amari. Like he comes out, obviously has insane chemistry with Deshaun. His yak ability is just what we thought it was going to be. His route running is just as good as advertised. He has like a 2021 type ending, but consistently throughout the entire season. I think that they feel more comfortable saying, Amari, we love you, but that cap space and the flexibility that gives us is so much more valuable when we can extend Elijah Moore and make him our number one wide receiver and then kind of, fill out the rest of the roster with that money. If Elijah Moore comes in and does what they think he's going to do, I think that they can move off Amari comfortably. But I think that obviously just the fact that Elijah Moore does kind of give them so much flexibility with the cap because he's coming, he still has like another year on his contract. The fact that they can kind of, get away with keeping Amari if not everything goes to plan or getting rid of him if Elijah Moore comes out and just becomes the guy that they think he can be is just a perfect situation for the Browns in terms of just how well they're able to kind of set themselves up going into next year in terms of, being able to hop on the wide receiver market immediately or just kind of be like, okay, we're set with the guys we got, or they can just kind of, shop in and out of the market.
Well, and that's the thing too, Jack, is it's not – I guess a lot of people haven't seen a lot of Elijah Moore, so this is why even saying things like this might puzzle some of them, and that's fair. Like, I get it. It's not out of the realm of possibility that Elijah Moore could come in here and light it up. It really – you watch this guy's tape, and dude, like, you see it. and you see that a guy that couldn't get the ball and was consistent, and I mean consistently open and couldn't get the ball. Real quick, I'm noticing the time. Before we get to more comments and more questions, we do have to take a second and hear from our new sponsor, BetStamp.
What's up, guys? Today's podcast is brought to you by our friends over at the BetStamp app, which is helping thousands of people win at sports betting, and it's absolutely free. The same way travelers use things like Google Flights, Expedia, and other websites to find the best prices, bettors can now use the BetStamp app to do the same for sports betting. When you place a bet, the odds given by a sportsbook will determine how much you could possibly win. Even when betting on the same outcome, different sportsbooks will offer varying payouts, and those differences can be pretty big. Thankfully, BetStamp allows you to easily line shop for the most profitable odds across all the major sports books. You can click on any matchup and instantly see all the different odds from game lines, player props, and even futures bets. Line shopping is the simplest way to find an edge in sports betting and maximize your chances of winning long term. On average, BetStamp users win an extra $1,000 a year just by line shopping. For example, March Madness is tipping off. You want to make sure you're going to have all the tools needed to cash in on your predictions. The tournament is filled with exciting upsides, and BetStamp will connect you with the best possible odds for every pick you make. You can find the BetStamp app in the Apple iOS Store, Google Play Store, or through your browser at www.betstamp.app. To access all these benefits, sign up using our promo code Network216, all one word, no space between network and 216, and start your journey to successfully sports betting today. If you forget to use the code upon sign up, you can always enter our code in your BetStamp account settings afterwards. So go check it out. And let's make some money.
Oh, that's my bad. Well, being a little late there with that ad. When we get to talking, sometimes you just forget these things. I saw Mick the dog has another good stat for us. He saw a PFF grade on Moore. He had 36 graded catchable balls, but he had 37 catches.
Yeah.
Dude, he's incredible, man.
Two drops over 2 years.
Yeah. The dude's seriously incredible. I'm so pumped we got him here. I hope he takes the number 0. Either way, I'm buying his jersey at some point. No doubt about that. So, Zach, you and I this is another thing we got to talk about on Sunday, but I wanted to hear Jack's thoughts, and we've seen some comments about this as well. Some people are a little confused, Jack, by the sign of Marquise Goodwin. Like, it kind of surprises them a little bit. What are your thoughts on signing Marquise Goodwin? I know Zach and I thought that once the Browns got Elijah Moore, we thought there's no way we're signing Marquise Goodwin. We thought he was like the fallback plan. If they couldn't add a Judy, couldn't add Elijah Moore, a player like that. So what were your thoughts on this signing?
I thought that is definitely a signing. That was definitely a move that happened. I mean, I was all cool with them getting him before we got Elijah Moore. I had no issue with them getting him after. I mean, I don't see what the issue is with getting more depth and getting more guys who are proven. I mean, Marquise Goodwin's a really decent, solid rotation receiver. He's a guy who you bring in, you know what he's good at, you know what he can do, and you make some plays with him included in them. And if they work, they work. If not, then who cares? It's just a guy who is good at what he does. He's a good, solid, proven receiver in this league. You put him in an offense with other guys like Elijah Moore, like Amari, and with Deshaun Watson. And we know that Deshaun can get the best out of, some not good receivers. And Marquise Goodwin is a good receiver. So you put him in that situation, you make it so, again, you have like 5 or 6 really good receivers who you can kind of bring in and out. You can make a bunch of different schemes for him. Again, it's all about kind of like flexibility. You just bring in a bunch of guys who are really good, or at least very, very serviceable receivers. You put them out there, and with Deshaun Watson, with Nick Chubb, with this offensive line, with the weapons that we have available, and good things happen. I have no issue. I understand maybe why it was confusing, because I think a lot of people were just like all in on Jerry Jeudy, and then it was all in on Elijah Moore. So when we got another receiver after the big move for Elijah, everyone was like, well, why are we getting more receivers? You can never have enough receivers. And all this does is tell me that Anthony Schwartz is gone. We don't need him. our depth chart is too full of actual guys who can catch the ball. So unfortunately, Anthony, we'll see you later, man.
Unfortunately.
Well, look,
it's not unfortunately.
Look,
not.
It's unfortunate for Jacob.
What?
He had that. He's been trying to tell us that Anthony Schwartz will work.
In the wise words of LeBron James when he played for the Miami Heat, it's about damn time.
Oh man, I mean, and some about Marquise Goodwin too, Jack. This is a guy that played his most snaps in his career last year for the Seahawks out of the slot.
Yeah.
And like Michael mentions in the chat, he had 6 touchdown catches. He only had 400 yards, but again, 6 touchdown catches. So he was a red zone target that they could get the ball down there. He creates mismatches due to his speed. Even though he's going to be 32, the dude still has speed. I mean, it's like it hasn't gone away for him, which is incredible. 235 slot snaps, 175 snaps outside. Flexibility.
He's a savvy veteran with flexibility that you can bring in the red zone. That it's just having a lot of good receivers is good for your team, especially when you have a quarterback who you want to pass the ball a lot. You want to give him options. You want to give Kevin Stefanski options. I don't see how people are confused with the idea of more wide receiver depth, especially with guys who have proven it and are veterans in this league. And I mean, it's a 1-year deal. What's there to hate about this?
Yeah. I mean, I saw some people saying that David Bell needs to be given more of a chance. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I think, again, Marquise Goodwin's not, I don't think, going to play a super large amount. I mean, again, he is going to be a mismatch because of his speed, but also you're going to rotate probably David Bell and Marquise Goodwin. I really think that's what they're going to do. And then there's even going to be some series that maybe Elijah Moore's on the outside, Cooper's in the slot, and David Bell's on the outside. You have guys that can play multiple positions at wide receiver and can line up in multiple ways for this offense. Kevin Stefanski's going to take advantage of that flexibility. It's not going to be pigeonholing guys. And I knew that too with a lot for everyone saying Elijah Moore is just a slot. When Kevin Stefanski basically said they raved about his versatility and his speed, that told me what I needed to know. Mm-hmm. They're gonna make it a habit to get him the football.
Yes.
And I saw a good comment here. I hope Andrew Berry signs more D linemen. I do believe they are going to sign one more defensive lineman. I really do. I don't know who it'll.
That Calais Campbell. I know that Calais Campbell situation kind of confused me a little bit. I thought the Browns would have made at least a little push for another veteran edge or something like that. But, yep, there you go, Tyler. There you go.
He's the dream. I haven't heard a single thing on this guy. I seriously have not, hopefully he's breathing. I haven't heard anything. No, seriously, dude. I have not heard. I look up this guy. I don't see anything. It's so weird to me. And he's considered one of the better players that's available right now. I'm just shocked that there's not been anything on Matt Ioannidis. It's very strange. I don't know if he's going back to Carolina or what.
I mean, Michael just said Poona Ford too. Poona Ford would probably fit very well alongside of Tomlinson as well. So
yeah, it honestly just depends on price. I really think that now does matter. They're gonna try and find someone for a bargain. That's at this point because they
you just need more of a big one tech, dude. That's really what you need right now. A big old one run stuffer. Seriously.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah.
Sean Robinson.
There are still options out there, and I think they're going to be very cheap as well. So
yeah, I think Andrew Berry is he's going through the market very smartly. He's not trying to reach too far and kind of invest way too much money into the D lineman market right away because obviously you see all these guys who got signed and just how big their deals have been. I don't think Andrew Berry wanted to invest that heavily right away. Especially because he needed to figure out exactly what he was going to be doing with the wide receiver room. Because I think the wide receiver room was a huge priority for them. And obviously we signed Anthony Walker today. They've gotten a pretty decent amount of help for the defense already. So they're definitely going to get another defensive lineman. They're definitely getting at least one more. Will we see one in the third round? Because we have 2 picks. I don't know. I think that's probably also another thing that they're going to be looking at. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know where they go. Justin Houston, Melvin Ingram, I think are some names to watch as guys that can be rotational edges. That would just make a lot of sense, especially veterans. Do they want to try and move Alex Wright more inside this year? That's another possibility because, again, he's built for it. I do think at some point they're going to try and draft somebody on the line. I don't know who. Also, all right, Joe, we're going to call you Joe. That's perfect. That works. Hopefully I said that correctly too. But either way, I'm trying my best. I think, again, guys, it's awesome seeing a general manager. He's got his price point. He's also willing to just wait as long as it takes to find bargains. So I'm encouraged by it personally. And the longer some of these guys stay available, the more you think you have a chance at them. I know fans want Frank Clark. It sounds like he just wants too much money. So I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I just don't. I mean, and how's he going to feel about coming in and being a rotational guy? That's the other question. Like, is Frank Clark going to be okay after being considered a star in Seattle and Super Bowl champion with the Chiefs? Is he going to want to come in here and be a rotational guy at 29 years old? I don't know. Can be curious to see what happens. That's for sure. I do think also another position to watch, guys, is safety. I think they still want to add. Like, I think they're going to end up drafting someone too, but I think they need another veteran safety in there. Nothing against Anthony Bell, great friend of the show, by the way, and really good guy. But it sounds like they like him a lot more on special teams. So I think bringing in a guy like Rodney McLeod would make a lot of sense. Familiar with Jim Schwartz in that system, you can get him for about maybe $1.5 million to $2 million. That's what I would probably do, at least in that regard. Does anyone in the chat, do you guys have any final questions or comments that you want to hit us with? Because we'll wrap things up here by taking some of your questions.
I mean,
let's see.
I might have missed, and if I missed some earlier, I apologize. Sometimes I'm trying to do slides here. I'm trying to monitor the chat. Sometimes I lose.
Oh, Danny Shelton. We don't talk about that.
Danny Shelton.
Danny Shelton, dude.
Danny.
Down at the local.
Like his
Danny.
alter ego. I love it, dude.
Shelton. That would be funny.
Also,
Safety is,
I don't know.
this
I
is
don't think,
true.
Is anyone really or not? That's not the one I wanted. Yeah. I don't think anyone's giving up on Perrion. Like, he had a rough year.
I think they think he's going to be a starter this year.
Yeah, like I don't think that obviously he had some rough points in the season, especially when like he was getting called out for issues like in practice, and his effort apparently wasn't looking good, and he got held out of a couple of games. Like, that looked really bad. And you kind of say it like that he needs to get coached up. And I think that that's what they're really going to try to focus on. Is like, hey, you need to really take this seriously, and I think he's going to take that personally, because he seems like a guy who has a very, very strong work ethic. Mm-hmm. I think he's really going to take it to heart. A lot of this, especially because I think he sees how, kind of average or below average his season was, which he's a rookie. It's kind of, there's a level of adjustment there. So I think that Perrion will definitely be a guy who does have a big jump from last season to this season, just because I think, you bring in a guy like Tomlinson, you bring in some more talent on the edge. You still have Myles Garrett there. I mean, it makes your job a lot easier when you have a guy like Myles Garrett off the edge when you're a D tackle. So I also have faith in Perrion actually becoming a really solid D tackle.
Michael, to answer that question off the rip, I would say, like, just based on our draft order now, Keandre Coburn out of Texas would probably be a name. I'm not sure how Tyler feels about him. Tyler's the draft guy on this show.
I think he seriously would be a good fit for what we're looking for.
Big dude, like 332 pounds. So.
Canelo Benton. I'm still pronouncing, dude. It's a long day.
Keanu Benton? Is that what you're talking about?
Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin's a guy I think that could still be available, would absolutely be under consideration there. I would look at, for me personally, I think if Zach Harrison is there from Ohio State, and it's not just me being a Buckeye fan, that's where I would go, because it's a guy that has inside-out versatility. I mean, yeah, he's more of a D end than he is a D tackle, but again, he's a versatile player, and we know the Browns love guys that can play inside and play outside. So Zach Harrison make a ton of sense. The Browns are going to be having a visit with Carl Brooks the Bowling Green defensive tackle. That's another
Mhm.
guy I would watch. I also, to say this, Michael, it's not a given. Everyone's set on they're going to take a D tackle at the first. No, I think it's best player available. Whoever they think that player is, I just think they're going to take them because right now, I wouldn't say you necessarily have a huge need anywhere. And Andrew Berry has shown in the past, none of us expected the Martin Emerson pick last year. Absolutely none of us. And none of us really knew who he was, for that matter. So just keep that in mind. And I see Joe also said something. I want more pass rushers. We have an unproven guy next to Miles. That's a project. If you're referring to Ogbonnaya Okoronkwo, first off, Joe, go watch the free agent signing video that I provided film on him. That's on the YouTube channel, so please check that out. He's not a project. He's a guy that has never been a starter in the NFL. He's constantly worked his way up, and he's shown, if given the reps, that he can produce. So, if anything, I would be really excited about him because he's only going to be 28 years old. He's fast coming off the edge. I would be excited about 007. So, I just want to say I don't think he's unproven. Some people do. I don't see it that way.
Tyler, I have one question for you because Jordan Reed, I don't know if you guys saw that. I know we did, obviously, but Jordan Reed dropped his mock draft, and he had the Browns drafting linebacker DeMarvion Overshawn out of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted you're like I said, you're our draft guy, so I just want to know because I was going to ask you regardless what your thoughts are about him. And
yeah, man. So I mean, I'm a fan of him personally. Like, if you're going linebacker in this draft, like if the Browns are set on doing that, it's hard to know if they are or not because Andrew Berry hasn't taken a lot of linebackers. He's 6'4", 223 pounds. Dude, he's a big guy for a line. I mean, he would fit a different mold than any other linebacker the Browns have on their roster. So I think he'd be the thumper they're really looking for. He had 4 sacks this past year. He had 95 total tackles, so he's really good. I mean, in that regard, I like him. Will he get there? I don't know. That's the other question. I don't know if he even gets there. And I just don't know, Zach, if they're taking a lot. I don't know. I feel because the linebacker position, guys, this could actually be for another show because it could be a little bit longer of a discussion.
We probably will have a linebacker.
We'll bring it up on another show, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you have Anthony Walker, you have Sione Takitaki, you have Jeremiah Wusu-Koramoah, Jacob Phillips. All these guys are coming off injuries, season-ending injuries, every single one of them. If I'm adding a linebacker, I'd rather add a veteran. Yeah. I'd rather add a veteran than add a rookie right now because, again, you're asking a rookie, and maybe in this case, to come in and step up and perform. I'd rather go at a veteran. I know there's not like a ton of huge names available out there, but I personally would feel more comfortable with that. That's just me.
Well, I feel like especially in kind of the way that our roster is constructed and the way that I think they're overlooking the whole process. Like we're kind of in win now mode, or like we're in like the window where we're prioritizing. Like we need proven guys. Like we need guys who we know are capable of, fulfilling a role on the team, whether it's on offense or defense. So we don't want, that's why like you see teams like the Rams, like they don't care about their picks. They don't care about really drafting all that much because they'd rather get guys that they know are already proven in the league, can already do a job. They don't have to worry about them developing or anything like that. Like they've already done their developing with another team. They'd rather have a guy who they can just say, we know what you can do. We're going to put you here, do your job, and then they're done with it. They don't have to worry about developing. And then obviously if they don't develop, then okay, cool. You're out like 3 years in a draft pick. Like it's a whole different situation for the Browns now where they have to actually look at what's more valuable to us, a little bit of extra money and a draft pick, or the time of us just having the guy and having the player, knowing what he can do and where we can put him. And that's really where Andrew Berry is going to have to figure out for some of these positions, like how well does he trust his own draft process and his own draft grades? Because especially in those later rounds, a lot of his picks have been kind of hit or miss. Like we're not really sure how consistent he's going to be going forward. So there might be some positions where he's like, I'd rather just have a guy than hope that one of the guys that I pick turns into somebody that can be useful long term.
it's also so hard to hit on those late round guys. Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's so hard.
If you hit 50%, that's good. I mean, that's considered good. Like, everyone wants to criticize his draft picks, like, that he's had so far, and it's fair to do. But when you get to, I'll say day 3 or even late day 2, dude, if you can hit on 50% or around that, you're doing something right. Real quick, again, on 007, he makes a point. If he was good, how come the Rams never kept him? Because the Rams, after they won that Super Bowl, they had to redo Aaron Donald's contract in order to keep him. They gave a huge deal to Cooper Kupp. Matthew Stafford's contract is really hitting them. You're seeing the Rams have to completely dismantle their roster right now because of some of the contracts they have. That's why. And he went to the Texans and took that starting job by midseason on a terrible team, mind you, and put up numbers that were very impressive. You know what? I'm going to one with this because I just have to read off his pressure stats again. This is why you would get excited about a guy like this, because give him the reps and you know it's going to pay off. So, Joe, he had an 88.5 pass rush grade since week 7 last year, since when he became a starter. That was 6th best among defensive ends. He had a 22.9% pass rush win rate, which ranked him 7th over that span, and a 17.5% pressure percentage, which ranked him 8th among edge defenders. There's a reason why PFF does a whole list of players every year that they have available as free agents. He was ranked 59th out of all those players. He's going to be a good player for the Browns. He's a guy that just needs reps, and I'm telling you, go back and check out the video I did on him. And he's got a relentless motor, which you absolutely want to see, especially refreshing after Clowney took so many plays off these last 2 years. So go check it out. That's all I'm going to say. I'm leaving it at that because I could talk about him all night. Well, guys, as we're wrapping up the show, the weather in Ohio, I'll tell you, it's just crazy to me because, again, we go from, at least here, it was like 60 degrees a couple days ago. Now it's 37. But I'll tell you, Homage has something for no matter what type of weather it is outside. Yep. Like today, I'm able to wear this. I'm still warm in it. Like it just doesn't matter. I don't need a coat sometimes when I go to take the dog out outside because Homage is going to keep me warm.
I went to bed wearing my Homage t-shirts like I'm wearing right now, and I woke up and I'm like, by like 3:00 it was snowing, and I'm like, time to put on the hoodie and the starter jacket, take the dog outside. I'm like,
Let's be real. The Guardians season's about to start.
Yes, sir.
Inning 1 through 3, you might need the hoodie. Inning 4 through 6,
Great.
you might need to take it off. You might need to have, a t-shirt underneath, man, because it might be like 40 in the first inning and like 70 by the third inning. Like, you never know. So you need to just and plus, I mean, come on, you can wear every single team in Cleveland, every single team wherever. I mean, they have every single team, every single sport, even stuff outside of sports. They're just the fact that they have comfort, they have options, and they have variety should be all you really need to go over on Homage, check something out, see, and you're going to find something you like. Trust me, you're going to get addicted to all the cool designs, all the awesome stuff that they have there. And it's all at really good prices. And trust me, you want to have the variety that they provide because Ohio is terrible. It is bipolar. It does not know what it wants to do. Springs in July, maybe. So just be prepared. You need to have a whole fleet of different Homage gear so that you're prepared for every hazardous weather situation that Ohio can throw at you.
Absolutely. Well, Jack, Homage needs to hire you.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about Jack. Jack gives the best Homage ad reads like off the top, but never wearing Homage clothes. So it just,
it's upstairs. It's upstairs. Yeah. It's up there somewhere. I know it's in my dresser right there, and I keep forgetting to put it on because I wear long sleeves, and I need a long sleeve for Homage. I still haven't bought one yet.
Why don't you just ask him?
I could just ask him. I could just ask him.
You really seriously could. Well, again, guys, thank you for everyone that tuned into this edition of the Faithful Dogs podcast. Again, be sure to drop a like on this video. You guys don't understand how much that really helps our channel because it helps that YouTube algorithm grow. It helps Network 216 grow as a channel, which is very important. Please subscribe to the channel if you are brand new to Network 216. It's completely free. All you got to do, go to the channel, click that subscribe button. That way you don't miss any Cleveland sports content every single day because that's all Network 216 has for you guys. At 10 o'clock tonight, we have the guard chug. My apologies.
Yep.
Amani McPherson is going to be joining. Chuck will be joining as well. A lot of you guys are familiar with Chuck, so they're going to have that 10 o'clock for you guys here on the YouTube channels. Make sure you don't miss that. Special shout out again to Matt O'Leary from the Jets for joining us, breaking down Elijah Moore. We will talk to you all again soon, and go Browns.
Like,
Go
comment,
Browns.
sub, underdog, bet stamp, and homage.